There is much debate around whether, according to the Christian Bible, same-gender relationships are permitted within the Christian religion or not. So is God against same-gender relationships? The short answer is, it depends. It depends on how literally are we interpreting the Bible. If we are going to interpret it literally enough in order to condemn homosexuality, then we have to interpret it literally for everything else. The problem lies in the inconsistency of many preachers and believers who only quote the most convenient parts, in order to make their point across, and completely ignoring others. It seems, for the most part, that most LGBT exclusionary churches hold on misinterpretations of the Old Testament to condemn same-gender relationships. But there is nothing in the Bible that suggests that a same-gender relationship between two consenting adults is a bad thing. When we read the many different passages that talk about abomination this and that, was God talking about modern, present-day loving, committed, faithful, non-cultic, same-gender partnerships, or was he talking about pagan sexual rituals in worship of the Canaanite fertility goddess? Truth is, Moses never mentions homosexuals or homosexuality or lesbians and lesbianism. People who use fake biblical arguments against gays and lesbians refuse to acknowledge context, because if they acknowledge context, they know their arguments will not stand up to logic, will not make sense, will be obviously false. Some passages in the Old Testament, such as Leviticus 18:22 and Leviticus 20:13, mention that men sleeping with men are an abomination. Other abominations, according to this book, include eating bacon, getting a tattoo, eating shrimp, etc. Do you think I'm kidding? I'm not. In the same passages where gay sex is condemned and punished, so is eating shrimp, crop commingling, eating rabbit, wearing linen and wool at the same time, and eating raw meat. So biblical literalists better start sewing their own clothes and becoming a vegetarian. Is this about same-gender relationships or male homosexual sexual abuse? In the King James Version, Leviticus 18:22 is translated, "Thou shalt not lie with mankind, as with womankind, it is abomination." While newer translations twisted the original text in order to fit their narrative, the original text seemingly talks about the common practice of raping male slaves in those days, rather than consensual same-gender relationships between two consenting adults. The original text completely ignores women, as usual. There are no links between Sodom and Gomorrah and homosexuality or lesbianism. No matter how much some radical Christians attempt to turn and twist the scriptures around, truth is, the Bible never makes this connection. In the 48 verses where Sodom and Gomorrah are mentioned, there's no link between homosexuality and Sodom and Gomorrah. In fact, Jesus did talk about Sodom in Matthew 10:15 and 11:23, Mark 6:11, Luke 10:12 and 17:29, but he never made a connection between Sodom and homosexuality. Homosexuality was not the reason why Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed. In fact, Sodom was destroyed because of their greed. In Ezekiel 16:48-50 it says, "Sodom's sins were pride, gluttony, and laziness, while the poor and needy suffered outside her door." Ezekiel 16:48-50 NLT. So this passage only does not say anything about homosexuality. It says that God will judge people based on how they interact with the world around them. Okay, good for the gays and the lesbians, but what about transgender women? Some radical Christians attempt to attack transgender people by mentioning that, in some biblical passages, God allegedly condemns effeminate men. Thing is, transgender women are not effeminate men or men in a dress. Transgender women hate the feeling of looking like an effeminate guy. I hate to look effeminate, Ellie. When I lived as a guy, I was a very masculine guy. When I transitioned, I became a very feminine woman. Truth is, I never was an effeminate man. Eva C. Transgender. 28 years old, Amsterdam, NL. And to those who say that transition isn't natural because it wouldn't be possible without the help of modern science, I'd like to remind them that hormonal replacement therapy isn't any more unnatural than, let us say, electric power, glasses for the visually impaired, chemotherapy for cancer patients, going to the dentist, or taking ibuprofen to soothe the pain of an ordinary headache. I could go on. Marriage is not exclusively Christian. It is a universal right. Truth is, Christian people get married, atheists get married, Buddhists, Muslims, everyone. Even I got married. The word marriage does not belong to Christianity. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights by the United Nations declares that you are able to marry anyone you want as long as it's consensual. No religion can take that away from you. It is your right. They don't get to decide. To conclude, would God judge a person for being gay, lesbian, or transgender? Or would He judge them based on the things that they do as people? The reason I ask myself this question is because I know many people within the LGBT community who are amazing citizens. People who are truly committed to making this world a better place, and what they do in their privacy is nobody's business. I am convinced that, to any loving parent, it doesn't matter what their children are, but who they are as individuals instead. My mother said once, "I don't care what my children are. They have a heart of gold, and that is all that matters." I love you, Mom.